list of questions that have been submitted by our membership. We will attempt to make as many of the questions that are submitted as possible. Be aware that more than one question may concern the same issue, so the question that is asked may not be phrased as you originally submitted it. We'll endeavor to ask all questions about as many issues as time allows. Please turn off cell phones or onto vibrate mode at this time. We ask the audience members do not display campaign materials in any way during the forum. A candidate t-shirt or button must be removed or covered up during the duration of the forum. We ask that the audience members refrain from any noises, interjections, or interruptions while candidates are speaking. The forum will last for 4 hours. District 1 candidates will begin at 5 p.m. We'll have a 5-minute break between each district and continue on the hour with each district until 6 district candidates begin at 8 p.m. The timekeepers for District 1 are Eric Granger and Adeline Thayer. Each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to answer each question. Each candidate will also have 2 minutes for a closing statement. We ask that the candidates do not engage in any personal attacks of other candidates, and that they limit their responses to their views of the question. So tonight, I would like to introduce to you our moderator for the evening, Brennan Eberwein. He is a student at DuPont Manual High School. He is a senior in the JMC program and the editor-in-chief of the Manual Red Eye. Brennan?
Thank you so much. So we will first start with candidate opening statements. We will start with Ms. Bell and work our way down.
Hi, I'm Charlie Drummond, for District 1, JCPS School Board. I'm originally from Akron, Ohio, where I serve as principal of the KCA Charter School, and currently work for Goodwill as a young adult opportunity in a second chance at risk type of environment. I am very passionate to directly affect the area that I live in to make sure the charter school is ran.
Yes, I'm Honor Brewster, and I'm running the school board for District 1. I am also a DuPont Manual High School graduate. I'm to White Pass. I have my bachelor's of science in communications from Spalding University. I haven't worked in the JCPS school system, although I have worked for adult education back in 2010. But I worked in independent schools, so I've been a primary school teacher at Columbia Youth Liberation Academy, and currently right now I'm the program coordinator at Skills for Life. I'm running for school board because I am vested inside of the school system. I was raised here, and I am concerned about a lot of issues that are surrounding our children. Currently at this time, I think a lot of our students are underneath psychological oppression due to a lot of issues that a lot of people don't want to bring to the forefront. When I say those things, I'm dealing with things of vaccines, pharmaceutical drugs, health, diets, television programming, and music. So these are all factors that our children are experiencing, and it plays a role in their overall development.
Thank you. Unfortunately, Diane Porter is currently in traffic. We believe she will be joining later. Travis Clark did not respond, so I believe will not be present. We will now move on to a set of questions that are pre-prepared. The first question I want to start with is, what specific skills would you bring to the board? And this time we'll go in reverse order.
Well, I have a lot of leadership skills and qualities, but I would definitely like to bring, I say again, I'm a solution-based person. So I like sitting and strategizing. I'm a good strategist. That's what I bring to the table. Other qualities, well, I'm just experienced, you know. Like I said, I have my bachelor's of science in communication, and I'm just definitely qualified for the job because I am a millennial. I was born in 1993. So if anything, I understand the times that we're living in. I love baby boomers, I love Generation X, but you're going to need someone a little bit younger to help with some of the issues that our school system is facing.
Certainly. What specific skills would you bring to the board?
I bring my experience from being a principal, being an advocate for the youth. I bring order to chaos. I'm great at organizational skills. experience of being a principal, I have been in the classrooms, I have supported the teachers, I have supported the students, and I've been able to bring the voice of the parents and make it all work together. Those are the qualities that I bring for the school board.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to the question, is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Board of Education? We'll start in reverse order.
Can we leave this on, or is it off on? Okay.
If it's on, it'll be heard, but
Okay.
it doesn't matter.
So the specific issue is school safety. It's the biggest concern that I have right now, and that brings into a lot of different things. If kids act out, if they think, like if you're in a classroom setting and you can't read or you can't answer the question, you're going to act out. It's those types of things that that lead to the safety of the school. The fact that the kids are in districts, specifically in District 1, being bused to the different places, those issues all, they all combined have to deal with the safety of the schools. And the whole purpose of this is to make the school safer and a nurturing environment for the kids to be able to learn.
Can you repeat it one more time?
Certainly. Is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Board of Education?
Yes. And that issue would be standardized testing. Now, I understand that it is not something that can just be handled at the district level, it's a state issue. But just yesterday, I was looking at the test scores. What I've been observing since the 1990s, because I've experienced it myself, you will always see JCPS students have higher scores in the apprentice and the novice level. And I ask myself all the time, is that score really accurate? And I say that because when I was in school, I used to make A's and B's, and everybody can go look at my report cards. But whenever I took the standardized test, I always performed in the novice and apprentice level. What I would like to see is us straying away from that. And that's going to take a lot of strategy and a whole different type of monster. But that's one of my interests because people do not understand how the standardized test affects the overall behavior of students. And I say that from a place of experience because when I was in school and I received those apprentices and novices, I always felt like I had some type of comprehension problem. So what it does, it beats up on side of the student. And we have to remember, these are children. I don't care if they're, of course, in the elementary level, middle school, or high school, they're still developing and how their attitude towards things. All children want to feel like they have a sense of competency. So that is being directly affected by taking these, I would say, culturally biased tests. It messes up the self-esteem. So we have to figure out a way, because it's here currently right now, but I would like to see more control of our teachers teaching. I feel like our teachers do not have a chance or the ability to teach their classes because they're teaching their students how to take a test, which is not okay, and it doesn't help with their overall learning. We need to create thinkers. And if children are struggling trying to do assignments to pass the test, well then that's just unethical, and we have to change that.
Those are two very general questions. And now we're going to move on to more specifics in JCPS policy. The next question is, when JCPS approved the new student assignment plan in June 2022, they also committed an additional $12 million per year for the next decade to increase funding for West Louisville schools. What are your thoughts on this decision?
Again, like I've been saying at the last ones, I totally support the student assignment plan. It brings the community back in unity. A lot of the residents are African American, but we also have other races down there as well. But I like it because, again, you shouldn't have to bypass 5 schools to get to a school. So with that, we can build better inside of our community, with community partnerships, to help us with our youth that are struggling, whether it's with behavior or even academically, and then also seeing the monies allocated properly so that not only the schools, but the families, you know, that it brings back community, it helps with student achievement gaps. I support the play 100%.
Can you repeat it again?
Yes. When JCPS approved the new student assignment plan in June 2022, they also committed an additional $12 million per year for the next decade to increase funding for West Louisville schools. What are your thoughts on this decision?
I approve the choice plan because I'm directly affected by that. If it was a parent choice, then my two children would never go to the two schools that they go to, which are 40 minutes opposite directions from our home. And like Ms. Brewster said, it would bring back the community, it would bring back a sense of family. You would have the PTA memberships more so than you do now because parents will actually be able to get to the school. And those things, so I support the school choice 100%. Now, in saying that, we still need to make sure that the monies are allocated correctly. That when we bring in these community partners, these partners are vested and they're actually doing the work that they say that they're doing. So it's not just a matter of throwing money around. We have to make sure that it is intentional and that there is some data and or some experiences to make sure that those monies are being spent correctly in the neighborhood. So I support it 100%.
The new school choice plan directly impacts the first district. What are other areas in your particular district that you're not seeing currently being addressed by the JCPS Board of Education as a whole?
Repeat it one more time.
The new school choice plan directly impacts District 1. What are other areas in District 1 that you're not seeing being currently addressed by the JCPS Board of Education as a whole?
Well, yes, I'm going to take Central High School. Again, I'm a community activist outside of my, work with 9 to 5. And a lot of teachers have been trying to bring attention to Central High School. Well, what's happening there, they're having renovations, but a lot of the teachers and a lot of the students and parents are concerned about the lead that might be there, the exposure to asbestos, all those type of issues, and nor has the board, nor has the superintendent or anybody has made anybody aware of it. And it's kind of stressful because you do have students signing out of school because they're not feeling well. There's a lot of debris in there. It's like a construction site at Central High School that's not being addressed.
You want to repeat that again? I'm sorry.
Yes. The new student assignment plan directly impacts District 1 in a big way. What are other areas in which District 1? What are other areas in your particular district that you're not seeing being currently addressed by the JCPS Board of Education as a whole?
I would say the transportation component of it, with the busing, being able to be bused to after school programs. That is a huge issue, especially when there is no outlet for the youth after school. So you can bus a child across town, but to bus them to a Boys and Girls Club or something is considered an unsafe area. Well, that gives the message that the kids are in an unsafe area, and this is the neighborhood that they live in. So that is one of the huge components of that is to be able to be, not only to be bused back and forth to school, but after school programming, and that will bring down the safety issue and the neighborhood development and those type of things to get the kids off the street.
We are now having Chair Porter join us. I would like to give her time to have an introduction, just like the other candidates.
At this time, you would like me to?
Please give an opening statement.
Okay. First of all, I apologize for being late, but there's something about Bardstown Road that doesn't necessarily like cars all times of the day. I'm Diane Porter, currently the District 1 board member, and I'm a retired educator for the Jefferson County Public Schools. During my work term here, I started as a teacher, human relations coordinator, counselor, assistant principal, and the first female principal for vocational schools. When I retired from the district, I was the director of the school to career office, which was career and intake education. My passion in life is educating our children. I think that takes care of the fact that I started school, segregated schools at Virginia Avenue. Then I went to Brandeis, I'm 15 seconds, okay. And from Brandeis, I went to Parkland Junior High School and then Middle High School, and I'm a graduate of the University of Louisville. And I'm also the parent of a daughter. I'm finished. Thank you.
All right. I think we'll move on to the next question of the candidates. District scores on the state standardized test consistently show that low-income and minority students lag significantly behind other students. What do you believe should be done to close these gaps? We'll start, whichever one the question goes.
Repeat it one more time. I'll go first.
District scores on state standardized tests consistently show that low-income and minority students lag significantly behind other students. What do you believe should be done to close these gaps?
Get rid of the test. It's actually crippling the whole public school system. It should be, whatever Nebraska did, that's what we need to adopt and do as a state. We're going to continue to see these barriers, and again, if people understand how the test works, it does play a role in a child's behavior. So it's not just a self-esteem thing. It's now that I'm not interested. The child doesn't want to engage. You see, there's so many factors that happen behind it. So keeping it is just, punishment to our students. We need to get rid of standardized testing.
Go ahead and repeat, because I guess we'll go this way then.
We'll get your doctorate rotation. Sorry, guys.
District scores on the state's standardized tests consistently show that low-income and minority students lag significantly behind other students. What do you believe should be done to close these gaps?
One is to, I guess, a movement in the right direction is the student voice, because now you're not being, you have the choice of being in the school that you want to be in. So you're in an environment that you would want to be in. Another thing would be to, this is the way that the testing is now, and where we are as a country, is that this is an all hands on deck. This is a state of emergency of our children not being able to learn. So we're going to need assistance from the community. We're going to need assistance from the community partners, and everybody to be on one accord to get our kids where they need to be.
I think what we have to do as a community, not just as a school district, to move forward with educating our children. We know that there is poverty, and we know that there are things like that, but that should not be the deciding feature as to how we educate our students. I recently was at an elementary school one morning, and all the students came in, they went to through the cafeteria, picked up their breakfast, and went to class. I've seen many cases where we have sent children home with meals also. But the worst thing that can happen for educating our children is to look at them and determine, because of their poverty level and things like that, that they are unable to learn. It is our responsibility in public education to educate every child. What can we do to make it better? We can work with our community and figure out ways to get some of our parents maybe more employed, or better yet, what is the community willing to do to help us in that situation? Poverty and things like that should not be the deciding feature. I know what the data looks like, but I also know that every door opens for every child, and we should not use that as a deciding factor, as they did once upon a time by using our zip code. So we cannot do that. We have to move forward and deal with our students and provide everything that we possibly can for them to learn. Thank you.
Next question I want to ask is, what role should the community play in educating the education of children? How will you engage the community to improve public schools in this district? We'll start with Ms. Bell.
So what I do now is I work for Goodwill. We have the Opportunity Campus opening up on 28th and Broadway. And that was a way to get the families involved as well, because if the child doesn't succeed, if the family doesn't succeed, the child does not succeed. Another thing is we have in the school system, they have the Frisky office, the Family Resource Center, to utilize them more and to be more engaging and build relationships with the children and the families to find out what it is, to find out the why. Why is it they're unemployed? Is it that the parent needs to get to the GED program? And now even with Goodwill, we opened up our own adult high school, so as an adult you can get a diploma as well. So there's a lot of resources out there. Now it's just a matter of coordinating them together to have a wraparound effect around the children.
Could you repeat one more time, please?
Yes. So sorry about that.
We'll get there together, it's okay.
What role should the community play in educating children? How will you engage the community to improve public schools in the district?
Well, that's like, that's right up my alley, and that's what I've been running my platform a lot about too. There's a lot of grassroots organizations inside of District 1 that go unrecognized even by the city. They have done tremendous work with children, whether it's academics and discipline, that are readily available, but they don't get the highlight of the attention that they deserve. One of those people, one of my favorite people, is Grandmaster Khalid with the Arabian Nights Federation. She's taking care of my children physically. There's Dre Dawson with Global Explorations, who also is into the martial sciences and disciplines and teaches production, and also helping students in political education to get them to introduce them to activism and things like that. So, and I do agree, our teachers need help, you know what I'm saying, and it does. It takes, everybody is a stakeholder in our children's education. It's not just the teachers, yes, they get the bulk of it, but your community is always there, and we should never be afraid of our neighbors. And if they exist, we must take them into consideration, and again, independently contracting with them, even with the monies that are being allocated down to the West End. Those community organizations need those funds to keep continuing to take care of our children. And they can have so much more, it can be so much bigger and better, but we're not investing properly because we're ignoring our community. And so now that we've pretty much let it explode, now we need their help. But yeah, let's do that and make it work this time, that it's effective.
So I agree that the community can work harder together, and spending dollars, there has to be a reason why. And we need to, as a community, understand how we are spending the dollars, what the purposes of the dollars. As we talk about educating our students, education can happen in the classroom, but education can also happen in the community. We've always talked about internships for students, but one of the things that is going to happen now, we'll be reaching out to middle school students to create a pathway for learning. There will be more exposure for educational opportunities for them to look at job opportunities and things like that. The other thing that I think that I continue to mention is mentoring our students, and that goes down to mentoring our families too. And we have organizations that reach out and provide services, but it's very important for everyone to feel like they are a part of the system, and not that there's an inside circle and an outside circle. So I think that distribution of funds, understanding the purpose of the funds, making sure everyone communicated how the funds are going to be used, and also the same is true with communicating with all the programs that we're offering for the students in the school system, making sure that we're providing an opportunity for every child based on their educational need. Thank you.
This question comes from the audience, and it is specifically for Ms. Brewster. However, I welcome every single candidate to respond. As you are recommending getting rid of standardized testing, what would you replace it with?
An assessment called Clifton Strengths. We need to stop focusing on the weaknesses inside of our students, but we need to find out what their strengths are. Clifton Strengths, again, is an assessment that is uniquely designed for them. So when the results come back, it tells the top 5 strengths. And so that, number one, builds the self-esteem, because once they get the assessment, they're like, yeah, that is something positive about me. Yeah, that is one of my strengths. And so now the teachers know that, they know their students. They know who their students are. A lot of times we don't, over the course of the year, the teacher knows who their student is because they've been with them for a while. But do they really know what their strengths are? They've never been assessed for that. They've never been assessed for their strengths. So, Clifton Strengths is what I propose.
I can say for me, standardized testing is just, it's not something that you should base everything off of. It's just a basic. There should be more. That's just one of the things that makes us the whole person, right? So you can't just say that this, because a lot of our kids don't even test well. So you can't just base what they know and what they're doing, or base what the teachers are doing just off of this test. Because that's just not how every kid doesn't learn that way. Some people have test anxiety. It's a lot of components that make up who the kid is, how the school is, and just using that standardized testing is just unfair.
Would you read the question one more time, please?
Yes. This was for Ms. Brewster. As you are recommending getting rid of standardized testing, what would you replace it with? You can just comment on standardized testing in JCPS.
I think we all agree that standardized testing is not the only way to determine students' capability. Some things are sent to districts from states as to how we assess districts, but that is not the only way of assessing the students. I agree that we need to outline and highlight the strengths of every student, and sometimes by doing that, they learn better. In the case of learning math, it was my experience that a lot of times the students that were in technical education programs excelled in math because they wanted to be in the particular program that they were in. But to highlight the student's strength, to know what a weakness may be, but how do we embrace that weakness and not make it a weakness any longer. Again, community learning, in-school learning, and opportunities, I think, are very helpful. But one test does not determine everything that the student is capable of. Again, some things come to us from the states. The district has recently been using something called map testing to determine reading levels or where they were reading strengths and weaknesses. So there are other ways to determine. But again, if something is sent from the state that a district must do, that is currently what has happened over time. Thank you.
This next question I want to ask. There was recently a Courier article that was an investigation into the balanced reading approach in multiple public schools. And it is specifically an investigation done by the reporter Nina McLaren that criticized the balanced reading approach in JCPS schools. JCPS was one of the districts in Kentucky. What is your opinion on the approach of balanced reading as opposed to phonics in early childhood reading education?
I don't mind answering first, but for whatever reason, I'm not hearing you clearly up here, and it's not just my ears, so I don't know if there's noise behind me. So if you don't mind, if you would turn up the volume just a little bit and repeat it, and I will try to answer immediately.
Certainly. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
There was recently a Courier Journal article published that was an investigation into the balanced reading approach that JCPS and other Kentucky public schools use to teach early childhood reading. What are your thoughts on balanced reading as opposed to phonics reading, to teaching phonics reading versus balanced reading in public schools?
Okay, and you say the approach again. The Courier Journal article featured something that talked about an approach, and what are our thoughts about that? What is the approach that the Courier Journal article highlighted?
Balanced reading.
Bounce?
It uses whole language, a whole language approach as opposed to phonics.
Say that again, I'm not understanding, I'm sorry.
Sure. So the article stated a balanced approach, which is the whole mastery and reading the level in one fell swoop and taking in context of what's on the page versus understanding the basics of phonics. And phonics reading and sounding out individual words and sounding out individual phrases. That was what the article addressed from the Courier Journal, is the two different reading approaches. This one that the state currently uses and the district currently uses as a balanced approach versus the science-based approach of phonics reading.
Okay, so what I hear you say is the state is doing something, the district is doing something, but there's another concept that we could embrace. So that, to me, dealing with the educational needs of individual students. So what we are doing may be working for some, but not for all. And what I have found over time, historically, people point out other options that are available to us. That's why in a district this size, and most of the school districts, we have those that work with curriculum, how to approach learning, academics, how to approach that. So I think that in order to be fair to our students, we have to offer opportunities of learning that meets the needs of the individual child. So I understand what you're saying, but that's not the only road to travel to get to educating our children. Thank you.
Yes, if I'm understanding it correctly, it sounds like at the state level, they picked up something called the balance approach versus phonics. I'm pro phonics. I'm not really sure I haven't read the article, or this is my first time ever hearing about a balanced approach with JCPS. I will be doing my research when I get home today, so don't worry about that. But I'm traditional phonics. The way you were describing it was something with the whole context of words or whatever. No, it sounds like you're gonna get ready to fail some more kids when it comes to reading basic phonics. It's basic phonics. Like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. It's like everybody, we keep coming up with these things. Like, just leave things alone. Like, children need basic phonics.
Okay, so I'm gonna say I'm not well versed on the balance concept or what it is, what it takes. But what I will say, as a parent and a leader, with where we are right now, whatever it takes, whatever technique we need to use, whatever those type of things, whatever, all kids learn differently, whatever works for that child. I believe as educators and leaders, we all are going to have to be well versed on things to move forward. Phonics is great; it's worked forever. This is what we use time and time again. But at some point, we have to be open to think that other kids learn differently, and they may learn this balanced reading. It may work for them. So I would be open to pilot it, to see if it actually works for the kids and who likes it better, and then make the choice based off of that.
Thank you. I'm sorry if that question was phrased poorly. Next question is regarding school safety. Yes. This last question is regarding school safety. Do you support the current JCPS security plan? Start with Ms. Brewster.
Yes, I do agree with it. Like I said, the last one, because our children are in a state of crisis that needs to be analyzed and looked into immediately. Our students are bringing weapons to school, which is a scary concept inside of itself. So I would like to see metal detectors just for our students' safety. I don't want to treat them like they're like in a prison system or something, but we're having too many incidents where children are bringing these things in, but we don't want to violate them either. So like if somebody was to get caught or something like that, now it's time to do an intervention and not punish them or make them seem like they're criminal or anything like that. But we need to get to the root of why they are in this position. But yes, I do agree with the school safety plan for JCPS.
Chair Porter?
As it pertains to the safety of our students, we continue to work to find the best plan. We are moving forward with a plan this year that does not, there's some people that think that having weapons in schools will eliminate having weapons brought in by others. I don't know what the research is that says that. As it pertains to parents' thoughts and teachers' thoughts, the goal is to keep everyone safe. There is a fear for guns being in the elementary schools primarily, but also in schools at all, because it does not necessarily help students brace life mentally without the fear of what's going on. So what I feel that this district must do is to have a specific security plan, which we are starting with something different this year by having a designated safety person within the school, an armed officer that is available to get to the school as quickly as possible, but also opening the doors for, I think I saw a quote in the Courier Journal that says, if you see something, say something. I was talking about a student that had shared some information. So I think that we must have a plan, but it must be a plan that is not upsetting to our youth, and it must be a plan that works. Thank you.
Ms. Bell?
Can you repeat that again?
Yes. Regarding school safety, do you support the current JCPS security plan?
I don't know the plan word for word, but what I will say is in general, yes. I believe that student safety goes with discipline. Discipline should be immediate, and it should reflect whatever it is that happened. And it needs to be consistent. And if we tackle and not letting the little things to continue to build and build and build, then we wouldn't need an armed security officer there at the presence. And then, like Ms. Brewster said, we have to find out the why. Why are kids bringing weapons to school? Those are community issues and family issues that we're going to have to work with everybody to figure out the why, to make sure that it's safe. So I am not, I am for least invasive possible, right? So I don't believe that if you have to build a relationship with kids before you can just walk around with a gun on you. Our kids are traumatized right now, and they're not seeing law enforcement in the best eyes right now. So we have to build those relationships first before we can have armed officers in the school. But then also we have to have somebody that's firm and that set the expectation for our kids to have that as soon as they walk in the door. So if you have the expectation and you're consistent with it and you stand on it, then that would eliminate a lot of the small issues that go into big ones now.
Thank you. We will now hear closing statements, and we will go in reverse order to start the closing statements. So Chair Porter, you're first.
Thank you for the PTA for providing this forum opportunity for the candidates in the race. My closing statement is it's our responsibility to educate all of our children. This is public education. It's not private school, but we have to see that all of our resources are used for the good of education. We have to make sure that that our teachers, we're listening to the needs of the teachers, and that everything is done correctly. I am very interested and focused on the student assignment plan that will start in the fall of next year. We have a very detailed plan in writing. So yes, it was voted on unanimously by the board, but now the work begins. It is our responsibility as a board to monitor the work, make sure that everything is happening, that the resources go to the right places. We said that we were going to make sure that our choice schools were staffed first. So it is my source of energy that we do the plan, implement the plan correctly. And if we're not doing so, that we listen to the advice of the evaluation that is done and we make adjustments in the plan. My main passion is educating our children. all children deserve quality education, access, and opportunity. Thank you.
Ms. Brewster?
Yes, well, Brewster for School Board, it's time to get back to basics. I think this is a perfect, time period in this paradigm shift, to have a millennial, sitting at the table. Again, I always say I love my baby boomers, I love my Generation X, but in order to, get through this hurdle, to, get through these stepping stones, you're gonna need a millennial's expertise, because we understand it, we went through it too. And we saw what was working, wasn't working, but now there's an aftermath. You know, we need somebody to help you fix that. So I'm a perfect candidate for that. Again, like I said, our children are in a state of emergency nationwide. You know what I'm saying? But there's somebody has to be there. There has to be that sounding voice that represents them, that they trust, and that they want to call on, that their parents feel comfortable with, the whole nine. You know what I'm saying? So it's just getting back to a basic structure, and taking our time with it. You don't have to rush nothing. You don't have to go all willy-nilly and start making these brash decisions. You know what I'm saying? We still got to get with the parents. We haven't even talked to them enough, because again, we don't have full autonomy over anyone's children. So I want to see more of that by implementing policies that holds parents accountable. I'm not trying to be strict. I ain't trying to make you lose your job or nothing like that. But we need you, parents. We do. But who's going to get them to be there? Okay, and that's what I'm the voice for. Who's the school board?
Ms. Pell?
Okay, in closing, I would like to say, please do your homework on the candidates that you choose to vote for. The whole country is in crisis right now, and this is just a small component of what's really going on with everyone. We need to have put people in place that will be able to be held accountable. We need to put people in place that is approachable and will and hear your voice and make those sound decisions that we need for our youth across the board, not just in District 1, but all of our kids, because it's going to take all of us to get back to where we need to be. I am Charlie Dale. It's Charlie Dale 4. It's the number 4 for JCPSSchoolboard.com. Any other questions, please refer to my website, and thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you coming this evening. We'll take a break at this moment and switch out for our next district